In the Golden State, where dreams are as vast as the Pacific Ocean, a storm of an entirely different sort was brewing. A tempest of deception, fraud, and greed that would shake the very foundations of California's economy and leave behind a trail of wreckage worth billions. This is The Money Trail, your financial investigative documentary series. In 2008, as the global economy teetered on the brink of collapse, the biggest financial crime in California history unfolded right under our noses. At its epicenter, a man named Stephen Acosta, a seemingly ordinary financial advisor based in Los Angeles County. However, there was nothing ordinary about what he would come to perpetrate, a $3.8 billion Ponzi scheme that would leave 10,000 investors reeling in its wake. Acosta's house of cards began to rise in the early 2000s when he founded his investment firm, Pacific Capital Solutions. In those days, Acosta was celebrated as a financial guru, known for turning modest investments into sizable fortunes. But behind closed doors, he spun an intricate web of lies and deceit that would ultimately entangle some of the most prominent members of California society. Among them, wealthy business magnates, retired professionals, and even high-ranking politicians, all captivated by Acosta's promises of staggering returns on their investments. But as with any Ponzi scheme, there comes a time when the well runs dry, and new investors can no longer sustain the flow of money to those at the top. For Stephen Acosta, that moment came in 2008, a year that would see his carefully constructed empire come crashing down around him. And as the dust settled on this financial catastrophe, one question remained: how did this happen? How did a single man manage to orchestrate the largest financial crime in California's history without raising suspicions until it was too late? 2008, a year that would expose the biggest financial crime in California's history. The man behind this monumental scandal was Stephen Acosta, the CEO of Pacific Alliance Capital Investments. But to understand how Acosta orchestrated this elaborate fraud, we need to look at the key players and organizations involved. At the heart of PACI were its investors, who had entrusted their savings to Acosta with the promise of substantial returns. Among them was the California Public Employees Retirement System, one of the largest pension funds in the country, which funneled hundreds of millions of dollars into PACI. On the surface, PACI appeared to be a thriving investment firm, with offices throughout California and a staff of experienced financial professionals. However, unbeknownst to CalPERS and other investors, Acosta had been using their money not for legitimate investments, but to fund his extravagant lifestyle and cover losses from risky bets on the housing market. The scale of Acosta's fraud was staggering. Over several years, he siphoned off nearly $2 billion in investor funds, making it the largest financial crime in California's history. He accomplished this by creating a web of shell companies and fake investment vehicles, which he used to funnel money from PACI to himself. Key enablers of Acosta's scheme included several high-ranking PACI executives who turned a blind eye to his illegal activities or actively assisted him in perpetrating the fraud. Among them were CFO Maria Lopez and COO Richard Thompson, both of whom have since been charged with multiple counts of conspiracy, fraud, and money laundering. But perhaps the most surprising accomplice in Acosta's web of deceit was a major accounting firm, which audited PACI's financial statements and failed to detect any irregularities. This failure allowed Acosta to continue his fraudulent activities for years, racking up billions in losses for his unsuspecting victims. As the scope of Acosta's crime became clear, it raised serious questions about the effectiveness of regulatory oversight and the responsibility of financial institutions to protect their clients' assets. It also underscored the need for greater transparency and accountability in the world of high-stakes finance, where billions of dollars are at stake and trust is everything.